WisconsinEye's Campaign 2024 programming is sponsored by Wisconsin Counties Association, Nicolet National Bank, Wisconsin Hospital Association, Operating Engineers Local 139, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Laborers District Council, and North Central State's Regional Council of Carpenters. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wiseye.org/donate or by texting WisCI to 44321.
Dylan Testin of Waupaca is the independent candidate for the 57th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Dylan Testin, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thank you guys for having me.
And thanks for participating in our candidate interview. What is your campaign's key message? Why are you running for this office?
So we are trying to be, well, I am trying to be for the people, not the party. That is pretty much our campaign slogan and has been since day one, and it's something I try to live by as well. You know, I don't want to be constrained by the two-party system. You could choose a third party, but everyone kind of looks at it as just one or two. And representing our people and our communities more than just the interests of a party, which is what the two people I'm running against have in mind.
So if you're elected, what's an example of a bill that would be a priority for you to introduce?
There's a lot. Tax cuts would be one, and easing the cost of living right now. There's education. We're going to go over a bunch of them, but I would say easing the cost of living is number one. We can't keep going on with what's going on right now.
So if you're elected, you'll be entering the Assembly during a biennial budget year, and the state's projected to have more than a $3 billion surplus. What would be the top two priorities for you for use of that surplus funding?
So I know right now there was a bill proposed to give taxpayers some money back, kind of like an economic relief bill, which I think would go over extremely well. Not even just for people's lives, but it would help everyone.
Who gets a tax cut? Everyone across the board? Or?
It was taxpayers. Was the bill that was currently on the table. I believe it was a Democrat out of Kenosha that proposed it or is tabling it, or I'm not sure who's all sponsoring it and all that, but I know it's on for next session. And then that would be the first one. And then cutting taxes would be the second one. If we're proposed to have a surplus, it'd be nice to lower the tax burden on people right now.
As a permanent tax reform, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. What about spending? Is there any area in the budget that you think needs further investment by the state?
There's a lot. Infrastructure is one. I know that kind of goes county by county as well. Roads and buildings and that investment. And then education. I am a believer in public education. I think we need to look at kind of spending before we look at more funding. But that's where I'd like to see a lot of it go, is infrastructure and job creation.
Now, you mentioned education. K-12 education is a leading issue for many voters. When you talk about K-12 education, what is your priority specifically in that area?
I am a proponent of school choice as well. But public schooling, I think we need to first look at the spending and how money is being allocated, and then go into funding and how we can provide a better future for the children. Because no matter what school you're choosing as a parent, education is the future for no matter if it's private or public, homeschooled, it doesn't matter.
What is the future of Wisconsin's higher education system? 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, technical colleges. What does that look like to you, and where should the legislature focus?
I'm a believer in kind of keeping them under control, but letting them do their own thing. A lot of the things I'm running on are like less government regulation in certain sectors. As someone that has recently graduated college, though, lowering the cost of tuition has to be a priority. It's pretty crazy at this point. I was fortunate enough to go to a cheaper school, and that's why I chose that route. I went to school with the intention of going to law school until I found out the cost of law school, Yeah, and so with that in mind, after finding that out, I was like, I don't want to start my career $250,000 in debt.
Do you support increased funding for the Universities of Wisconsin system?
I guess I would have to see exactly what's on the table for it and how much we're talking. And going through, I think you'd have to have an independent group go through and kind of see, hey, how are we allocating money currently? Kind of like I said for public education, K through 12, how is money being spent right now versus let's just increase funding?
What do you see as the state's largest workforce development challenge, and how would you propose to address it?
State's largest workforce development challenge. Getting people to work right now. As someone that has a business, runs a business, the biggest thing is kind of lack of employees out there. And the challenges surrounding them, that why they can't work or why they're not working. There's a bunch of issues going into that one.
Is there some role for the state with that?
I think there could be. For example, and I don't know exactly how this one would work out, but helping people get back on their feet after they've either had a tough time, they've made some bad decisions in their life, helping them get back on their feet and developing a program where you can move forward and help those people move forward. I think that would be a big one. It's something that we're currently dealing with right now. I've had a couple people that are very challenging to hire just because of their past, but there needs to be something for those people that can be done because they're having a tough time finding a job and all they want to do is work. So,
investments in public and energy infrastructure grow our state's economy. This also provides opportunity to invest in our state's workforce, but currently there are no requirements for hiring local workers. Would you support a state resident hiring requirement for state, local, and utility scale infrastructure investments?
Yeah, I believe I would. I'm a firm believer in hiring from home, helping out our area, our state first, rather than pulling people from all over the country. I understand that sometimes that's what's needed to fulfill jobs and make sure that jobs are being done in a certain timely manner. But I would love to see more of a restriction on, hey, we have to hire people from here and support our own state first.
Employee classification is an issue in the construction industry. Some employers misclassify workers as independent contractors or pay them in cash off the books. This lowers costs by avoiding payroll taxes and unemployment insurance, and it puts compliant companies at a disadvantage when bidding on projects. Plus, misclassified workers may be denied minimum wage protections or overtime pay. Are you aware of this issue, and what do you think should be done about it?
I guess I'm aware of it. I don't know if it's as big of a deal as what's being made out to be, and what can be done about it. I think that there are certain benefits to the way that people operate, but like you said, it does hinder some companies that are being compliant. At the same time, we do need to find a way to bring costs down to make sure infrastructure is being put up and roads are being fixed and buildings are being built. So whether that's that route or, finding a way to lower costs overall, it's got to be one of the two.
Affordable rental housing is an issue in Wisconsin. Some support government-imposed rent control to maintain affordability, while others argue keeping rent artificially low will decrease rental supply, resulting in increased prices. What is your sense of housing as an issue, and which best addresses rental housing affordability, rent control or building more rentals or some other solution?
Rent is crazy right now. As someone that recently bought a home, or my first home, my wife and I moved up here from Madison. We were renting back then. Rent is wild. So to help control it, I think you need to stop having these massive, massive companies buy all the rentals. Because then they kind of they're monopolizing the renting market. So how to do that, I'm not exactly sure. We'd have to sit down and get a bunch of information, work with kind of both parties, go through it that way, and kind of attack it from a different angle. As far as rent goes, we do need to find a lower the cost of housing, even purchasing homes. You mentioned rentals only kind of, but the housing market overall is insane. We overpaid for our house. We kind of had to. We lost out on 9 homes in the process. We had a home get bought up within 12 hours. People didn't see it, cash in hand, and find out it was bought from a company from Colorado or California. I can't remember which one.
Do you think the state has a role in helping to increase housing supply?
I think they can, whether it be kind of helping out construction companies, get land out there and start building these developments. Like I said, I lived in Madison, so watching housing being built all the time is pretty crazy too. I mean, there's a new rental building going up probably every hour. So I think it does have an influence, or can have an influence, but I think we need to do a better job of it.
Medical systems are facing numerous headwinds in the form of inflation, workforce development, and issues around Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement, resulting in fewer services and even the closure of a hospital system in western Wisconsin. What would you do to preserve access to care and prevent future closures?
So I think we do need to make sure, as a government and as a population as a whole, that we're keeping hospitals open, especially in rural areas. I mentioned western Wisconsin. I'm not too familiar with the western Wisconsin part, but I know centrally here. So like I said, we have a business that one of our sales reps actually, this is 2 weeks ago, he had a heart attack while he was in the middle of kind of nowhere. He was driving from site to site and drove himself to the hospital, and they were told, well, we can't help you at this hospital. We have to get you to a different hospital. So he took the 45-minute drive, and actually he was brought up here to Wausau, where they were eventually able to help him. I mean, he was back to work 2 weeks later. But access to healthcare is a massive issue, especially.
Do you support increasing Medicaid reimbursement for hospitals?
That part I'm not sure of. I'd have to kind of dive into it and see how they're currently reimbursed. I don't know a whole lot about the Medicaid system, I'm going to be honest. So I'd have to look at it both from kind of the positives and the negatives and go from there.
What about mental health care? It's a growing concern for many Wisconsinites and for state and county budgets. What are you hearing on that in your district, and how would you propose to address mental health care?
Well, I think mental health care is a number one priority for kind of the healthcare field as well. There are numerous issues that stem from mental health care. You can go down a lot of different routes from there and kind of the issues that it causes. I think it's something that we do need to find a way to help people out more than we currently are.
Increase funding for programs?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we'd have to kind of see where money's coming from. Like you said, I know we have $3 million in surplus, but a $3 million investment in mental health care, it's a start, but it's nowhere near where we need to be.
How should Wisconsin move forward on the issue of abortion?
So, this is the hot topic, obviously. I'm a firm believer in no one should be able to tell anyone what they kind of do with their body, to an extent, obviously. But I also don't believe abortion should be used purely as a contraception. Now, if someone's life is at risk, the mother's life is at risk, that's a whole different story. My wife is currently 7 months pregnant. We're expecting our first child. So this is kind of one that hits home a little bit.
Do you support a number of weeks as a limit?
Not specifically, no. I don't have, I think there's so much data out there on both sides that kind of that number gets construed more than it should. But as far as a ban, I don't support a ban. But like I said, if someone's life is at risk, I fully believe that they should have the choice to save their own life.
What are the pressing transportation needs in your district, and how important is it that these needs are addressed and for the state to keep on schedule with reconstruction of aging interstates and significant corridors of commerce?
Can you say that one back?
What are the pressing transportation needs in your district?
Well, so there is no public transportation in our district. That's one thing that it would be nice to see, especially as someone that just recently visited Europe and watched their public transportation system. It's beautiful. I don't know how they make it work so well. But yeah, it would be nice to see some sort of public transportation system for people that can't afford cars and can't afford the current gas prices. Lowering the cost, finding a way to help lower the cost of vehicles as well would be a massive benefit to, I think, everyone. I don't think there's a lot of people that would oppose that besides some big companies. But
what about the environment? PFAS and other water contaminants are a growing concern for a number of Wisconsinites. Do you see this as an important issue, and how would you propose to address it?
I do see it as an important issue. We were recently involved in, I'm not sure if it was covered by you guys or not, but the Lind digester issue in my district, it was about a mile from my home, which probably would have helped increase the PFAS levels, and it ended up getting shut down. I'm a massive advocate for keeping our water clean and our natural resources protected and our land protected. I believe that whatever we have to do to make sure that our water supply doesn't run out needs to be done. I think that's an obvious one. We can make as much money as humanly possible, but if we dirty all the water, we're not going to survive.
How would you describe the leading differences between you and your opponent or opponents?
How would I describe the leading differences between my opponents and I?
You and your opponents, yeah.
I would say I'm looking out for the common person far more than anyone else that I'm running against, and kind of more passion for our communities. I'm someone that's extremely involved in both local and county-wide stuff where we live. I just think that there's other people out there that just want to grab power for their party. They want to maintain their power. They want to keep cash in a paycheck, that don't really care about the job anymore and the representation that we're currently receiving.
Final question. Let's say you're elected to the assembly. You get a magic wand you can use in the state capitol to resolve one issue in a way that brings all parties together. What is that issue?
That brings all parties together. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's one magic kind of button that you could push that would just, hey, everyone's all of a sudden friends again. The one thing I do think would be massively beneficial is easing the cost of living. Taking that burden away from people, on the ground people. I'm not talking about in the Capitol, because I don't think a lot of people in the Capitol currently care about the cost of living. But if you can get the people on the ground to start seeing eye to eye, and I think that's a huge start.
Well, thank you, Dylan Testin of Waupaca, the independent candidate for the 57th Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Dylan Testin, thank you for talking with WisconsinEye.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This programming is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Thank you for watching.